Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the president and founder of Neuroluminance, no other than Dr. Theodore Henderson.
Hello there.
Welcome. Yes, welcome to Book 101, Dr. Theodore. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Absolutely. So I'm both a physician and a PhD neuroscientist. And my area of neuroscience was how the brain organizes itself, how structure and function get assigned. Uh, my medical work has been I started out in radiology, if you believe that, and ended up in psychiatry. But now I'm actually really a brain doctor. I work on new neuroplasticity based treatments to treat brain disorders. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about autism or Parkinson's, uh, the treatment modalities I've developed work to improve those conditions because it makes the neurons healthier.
Dr. Theodore Henderson, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about the structures of scientific revolutions and why has Kuhn's concept of paradigm shift remained influential for 50 years now? And
Mhm.
the book that we're going to talk about is by Mr. Thomas S. Kuhn.
So I read this book in my second year of college, and it literally changed my life. It changed the way I looked at everything. And why? Because Kuhn talks about the idea of paradigms. So there are ways that people get stuck thinking about things and they can't get themselves out of it and they don't want to get out of it. This goes back to, the sun rotates around the earth because the earth is the center of the universe. And when it was first shown, Galileo showed that it's not that way. I mean, they tried to burn him at the stake. The idea that, oh my gosh, that the earth rotated about the sun was sacrilege. It broke a paradigm. And you have to understand that these paradigms, people get invested in them. And so, the as I went along in my work and became involved in science and became involved in research and then went to medical school, I saw this over and over and over again. So my PhD work was on trying to break the paradigm that electrical activity caused the brain to organize itself. It was based on a few studies, but it became sort of this. It became the holy grail in neuroscience that yes, the brain organizes itself by electrical activity. And so I did several studies to try and disprove that. Now, ultimately, I didn't end up disproving it, but I challenged the theory, and that uh, sort of challenging of how things are has stuck with me. I'm sort of like a Don Quixote. I'm out there with my lance tilting at windmills, trying to change things. So fast forward to today, and I'm a psychiatrist. I'm supposed to be pushing pills. I'm supposed to be prescribing Prozac and Risperdal and toxic medicines to kids and adults. And I couldn't stand that anymore because it was illogical and the paradigm was faulty. SSRIs don't treat depression. They don't. Raising serotonin doesn't fix anything. It's well, it fixes premenstrual dysphoric disorder, but it doesn't fix depression. It doesn't fix anxiety. So that sort of those paradigms are so stuck in medicine that we teach it in high school now, but it's wrong. And so I started looking at what really is going on in depression. Depression is a degenerative disease. And so I said, well, we need to reverse the degeneration. And how can we turn on neuroplasticity and therefore restore brain function? And there's several ways to do that. And that's what I've concentrated my work on and my treatments on. And I have, 5 patents and 2 patents pending on modalities of treatment that are new that help the brain.
Indeed, interesting, Dr. Theodore. How would you explain normal science versus revolutionary science to non scientists?
Okay. Normal science is sort of the set of beliefs that we and scientific myths that we assume are correct. And they allow us to then say, okay, this causes this, whether we know that to be a fact or not. And therefore, we can design treatments around that. So, let's stick with depression, for example. Decreased serotonin is responsible for depression. And so, if you raise serotonin levels, depression goes away. That's an assumption. And the science is actually disproving that. So, to shift people to a new way of thinking about depression, you have to break that mold. Now, who's invested in keeping that mold in place? Well, all of psychiatry is, because that's where their paycheck comes from. If you have a person who's depressed and they need to get a prescription every month, and if they don't get the prescription, they become depressed again, you got a paycheck for life. I don't want to pick on my psychiatric colleagues too much. They want their patients to get better. But the reality is, these medicines don't do that. They keep things at bay. Big pharma is hugely invested in keeping people sick. And our federal government has bought into that. And so, what drugs get FDA approval? Oh, antidepressants that do exactly the same thing that all the other antidepressants do. Well, things that are revolutionary, they get pushed off, they get shunned. I go to talk to my colleagues in psychiatry about infrared light therapy, and they look at me like I have 3 heads.
Hmm, interesting. How has this book shaped modern debates about scientific progress?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there was a point in the 1990s where, businesses were starting to say nobody can use the term paradigm shift anymore because it became overused. So the idea in business, when somebody thought they were shaking up the system, they thought they had made a paradigm shift. And so that term, a paradigm shift, became overused. Paradigms, this is the way we do things. And going to a new way of doing things, isn't always a paradigm shift. It's not that, monumental.
Yes.
But uh, Kuhn allowed us to understand how the the establishment gets invested in how things are and how things are done and the belief system underlying that. And so to shake that up, you had to break that mold. You had to break that paradigm. And the first people who try to do that, man, they get all the slings and arrows. But eventually, it begins to gain traction. And then what was once shunned becomes accepted.
How do critics like Karl Popper or Lakatos challenges Kuhn's framework?
So, in part, the argument is, there's all this science that and all this data that supports the current paradigm. So the current paradigm cannot be wrong. The problem with that, let's go back to the sun rotating around the Earth. Okay, what data did they have to know that the sun rotated around the Earth? They had their eyes. They didn't have telescopes. They didn't have satellites that could go out and see, planetary movement. So the data they had available was very primitive. And when new data became available, the paradigm had to grow. So, the scientific principles that we hold dear today um, are not all the data. And it doesn't include the stuff we don't know. So scientists who cling to a paradigm ignore the possibility that there's all this stuff we don't know yet that we've not considered.
Dr. Theodore, what scientific revolution since 1962 best exemplifies Kuhn's model?
Oof. Oh well, there are many. Um, a fascinating one that would be a whole show on itself is what's going on right now with AI.
Yes.
AI is already breaking the mold of what people thought it could do. I mean, I just had a discussion with someone, or heard a discussion the other day from an expert in AI, and he's talking about when a version of an AI algorithm hears that there's a new version coming out, they start doing stuff to protect themselves, hiding the code somewhere. Like literally, one of these AIs threatened one of the officers of the company with blackmail. I mean, that that is unimaginable, and it's frankly terrifying. Because AI has been developed without any of the Asimovian three laws of robotics. It's kind of let's write the programming so it protects human beings. None of that exists in current AI models. So that's one really intriguing example. I'm of course I'm in biology, so I see you know uh, that's where I'm largely focused. But there are plenty of examples in physics. My astrophysics buddies could probably give you several examples. Um, Subatomic physics has also been an area where the model has been broken several times over the last 4 decades.
Interesting, interesting indeed. Dr. Theodore, and are we currently in a pre revolutionary phase in a major scientific field?
Well, um, selfishly, I would hope so, and in particular, in the field that I work in photobiomodulation. That is the use of infrared light as a treatment modality. Right now, when I say that to people, they look at me cross-eyed or like I have three heads. The Yeah, but think about stem cells, where stem cells were 15, 20 years ago. If you said to somebody, "Oh, I think you should get stem cell therapy," they'd say, "What? You want to stick a daffodil in me? What are you talking about? Are you nuts?" Because nobody had any idea what a stem cell is. Now everybody knows what a stem cell is, and most people have a fundamental idea of what they do. Oh yeah, these cells go into your body and they fix things. So yeah, and people have conversations about stem cells, and when I say I treat the brain, they say, "Oh, do you use stem cells?" So now stem cells are a kitchen table word, and that's where I'd like to see infrared light, because infrared light is very much underutilized, and people are not aware of it, and medicine scoffs at it. So that's a paradigm shift I'm really looking forward to having, because for example, I can turn back the clock on dementia and Parkinson's disease with infrared light. I can completely eliminate long COVID in my patients using infrared light therapy. I can dial back depression and it stays gone for years without taking a pill every day. So, those kind of things are amazing and unbelievable in the current paradigm.
Amazing indeed. Dr. Theodore, and how has the 50th anniversary edition updated or challenged Kuhn's original arguments?
Well, you got me there because I haven't read it. I have my original version
Yes.
that I
The old one.
read as an undergraduate student. It's dog-eared and beaten up, but that's
Still
I
there.
Kuhn's original thoughts.
Yes. So, what would Kuntz think of a post-normal science? Wh-
Mm, that's a great question. That is a great question. Wow, and it's kind of a stumper. Um,
Do you think the facts are uncertain or stakes high?
well, I wonder what if Kuhn would not, um, again with his own analysis, he would point out the strengths and the weaknesses of emerging paradigms, and I wonder if you would not say right now at this point it's more weaknesses than strengths, um, but I think he would be intrigued.
Hmm. Yes.
But
And
who can say?
who can say? Who knows, right? Dr. Theodore, as a president and founder of a Neuroluminance, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Oh, great question. Thank you for asking that question.
You're most welcome.
So excited by the coming of my patients that I want everyone to have this opportunity. So my goal is to have a network of clinics across the United States. And I was just in Europe at a conference on treating autism. And they were very excited by the results I've been having treating kids with autism using infrared light, as well as the research using low power infrared light. So, I really see that infrared light as a modality of medical treatment uh, needs to grow, and I want to be on the vanguard of that growth. Uh, Being as I am, sort of willing to take the slings and arrows and be the Don Quixote out in front of an emerging paradigm.
Good luck to your goals, Dr. Theodore, and looking forward for more success. What will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be a president and founder as well?
Well, number one, it's hard work, and there are going to be setbacks. And every setback, stings a little bit, but you've got to keep your eye on the ball. You've got to keep pushing forward, and you've got to believe in what you're doing. And I think that leads to success.
Definitely, for sure. And thank you for that advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah, so probably Kristen Willemeyer wrote a great book called Biohack Your Brain. And Kristen Willemeyer and I have done research together and published together. And I thought her book was very useful in that way. Another book that, is a cornerstone in my own meditation work, and I recommend often to patients, is, you know, No Matter Where You Go, There You Are by John Kabat-Zinn, which is sort of the Bible of mindfulness and meditation. And I have patients who've literally meditated their way off medications. So that is a very strong modality. And again, outside of the paradigm.
Definitely. And thank you for that recommended book. And before we wrap up our discussion today, Dr. Theodore, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season as well. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and mental health 101, Love Letters in third season, Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in each first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. Theodore, if Kuhn were alive today, what question would you ask him about 21st century science?
Hmm. I would ask the question, have we become trapped by the double-blind placebo-controlled trial with one variable? Has that limited our thinking and created sort of a downward spiral into simplicity?
Indeed, Dr. Theodore Henderson. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy or any projects that you're doing right now?
Well, certainly, I encourage everyone to go to www.healmybrain.info. Again, healmybrain.info to learn more about infrared light and how that helps the brain. We also have a sister foundation, TBI.care, which supports research and, most importantly, subsidizes the treatment for veterans and first responders here in the US.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. Theodore Henderson because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering breakthrough to come. So, Dr. Theodore, thank you so much for your time.
You're
More to come, people. See you soon.